What's up, guys? So today we are here to watch some more game theory. Pretty excited to watch this just to hear what he has to say after FNAF 6 and whatnot. I have played the game, not fully. I know I have not played the game fully, but I couldn't finish it, man. I didn't know what to do. They would get stuck down that damn hallway and not leave for so long, and I would end up passing out every time or dying every single time. And I went on for hours trying to beat it, and I could not beat 95. But I did watch the speech at the end. That's the only ending I know of. I think that's like the good ending or whatever. I know there's like maybe 2 or 3 more endings from what I've heard. This is FNAF 6, No More Secrets. Game Theory's channel will be linked in the description. Go check out his channel, and you know, yeah.
Another FNAF video? You said the last one was gonna be your last. Yeah.
I wonder how many times he's had to say that. With how many times he's done that, because, again, look at this fucking playlist.
I know, but I also said this. Now, don't get mad at me when the new game comes out in a few weeks and everyone tells
Part 2. So how many times he's done it? 6 times?
Do another theory about
however
it.
many times.
True enough to form, that's exactly what happened. I released my final 2-parter theory on the subject and exactly...
Damn, this game came out in 2017? That's crazy.
1 month later, FNAF 6, disguised under the fan game-esque name of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator,
that was cool.
Released. Now, at this point,
you know, genuinely, when I saw that, I thought the whole game was this. I know there was a speech at the end and it had a part in the game, stuff like that, but I had no idea what part it had. I only saw this part, so I thought the first few minutes of the game was actually the game. So when I saw the switch, I was genuinely confused. I didn't know what was actually happening. I didn't know it was actually a FNAF-based game. Well, obviously, but I didn't know it was like a Five Nights at Freddy's, you know, look around, cameras type of shit kind of game. I thought it was just like literally just a mini game. But I thought it was cool. I thought it was different. I thought it was cool and free. That's the crazy part. This game was free.
I wouldn't be surprised if you all thought that Scott and I were the same person. Come to think of it, you have never seen us in the same room together at the same time. Anyway, the game came out over 2 months ago, and ever since I've had countless people asking me for the theory. Over 10 people in the last week alone stopped me on the street and asked for a FNAF episode. And that's not even mentioning all the emails I've gotten in that time. So for Ben, Steven, Phil, Cassie, Matt, Lucas, Sarah, Alex, and Matt number 2, NBA Rookie of last year, Carl Anthony Towns, that's no joke actually, as well as everyone.
What? No shit? That's cool. That's really cool. That's crazy how big this whole thing has gotten.
Who has sent in something requesting an episode on FNAF, this one, and potentially one squeezed between this one and the next theory, and maybe even a third one down the line at some point. Those are all for you. Now, FNAF 6 was a very different game from any of the ones that came before. Not because it had a weird roller coaster tycoon-esque metagame connecting all the security camera maintenance you've come to know and tolerate from this series, but because it's much more explicit than usual. This game has a lot of talking, accompanied by clear visual storytelling.
That was crazy. I didn't expect to hear Springtrap talk. That was the one that really caught me off guard when Springtrap started talking. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? So it makes me curious, who are we playing as? Because he always says that, like, you know, when he said, you may not recognize me, but I'm still me, or something like that. So it makes me wonder who it is. So are we Michael Afton? Is that who we are? That's what I'm putting 2 and 2 together. And I want to know what the hell's going on with Henry, because if that's Henry's speech, then what does that mean? What happened in FNAF World then? What does that all mean?
But you're hearing, meaning that a lot of the major plot points of this game are fairly easy to understand, which has got to be like a first for the entirety of this franchise. FNAF 6 is filled with a sense of finality. It's clearly meant to tie up all the loose ends and serve as the last game of the series. Or, let me be clear, the last part of the series covering what I'm gonna call the Purple Guy saga. It's like Dragon Ball Z up in here. A saga which begins with a series of murders that result in animatronics coming to life, continues with the Afton family meeting with a series of...
Yeah, because it looks like Security Breach from what I played a little bit of it. It seemed like it was a little bit more of a reboot from what I saw, so I'm very curious on when I replay that. Or is that supposed to be a future timeline? I don't know.
Terrible fates, and ends with the spirits of everyone involved getting closure.
Yeah,
one way
so cool.
Because this game feels much more obvious in its story, many online theorists have chosen to focus on the major story beats, actively ignoring the game's more unusual bits, the wrinkles that don't quite fit in cleanly. But it's in those wrinkles that we find answers to some of the longest held questions of the franchise, and the clues that we need to finally put the whole puzzle together. So stick with me and prepare to get a little wrinkly like a toe left in the bath bathtub for too long. Because, well, today is certainly a theory, or rather multiple theories all in one episode. It's also me trying to open the door to you guys, equipping you with the information necessary to discuss the final points lingering around the edge of this mysterious franchise. Finally closing the book on the Purple Guy saga. Now, before I get to the deep lore here, let me quickly run through the major reveals of this game just to make sure that we're all working with the same understanding. In the aftermath of FNAF 3's Happiest Day minigame, the spirits of Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, and Golden Freddy have all been put to rest, which left only the lingering threads of Springtrap with William Afton inside, Ennard with Baby inside, Michael Afton, I'm a living corpse who used to have robot tentacles inside, and the puppet with nothing inside. Prior to the release of this game, Scott's two websites, scottgames.com and fnafworld.com, were talking to each other in their source code, a conversation which showed Baby and Ennard getting into a fight, and Baby basically getting voted out of the tribe, which is why in this new game the two are once again separate entities. Ennard in this game assumes the form of Molten Freddy, which, adding in this game's other new edition of Rockstar Freddy, brings the total number of different Freddy forms.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was supposed to be Ennard. Oh, this explains why it's so much pain in the ass. God damn.
Entire series to 12 different Freddys alone. Damn. And you'll wonder why this game is confusing to talk about. Baby, meanwhile, becomes Scrap Baby, complete with a lobster claw and roller skates because Scott was like, wee, it's my final game. I can make the designs whatever the hell I want to. Springtrap now has a cleft chin, and heck, why not? There's a weird black bear named Lefty, because why the heck not throw a 13th bear onto the pile? Throughout the game, you're not only tasked with handling the best characters ever, featuring such standouts as #1 Crate and Mr. Hugs, but every night you find one of your old friends out in that back alley.
What?
And it's your task per paragraph 4 of your employment contract.
Oh shit, I didn't see these. What kind of ending is this?
To salvage that animatronic, bringing them into your establishment.
If you are playing this tape, that means that not only have you been checking outside at the end of every shift, as you were instructed to do, but also that you have found something that meets the criteria of your special obligations under paragraph 4.
Fast forward a couple nights to the true ending of the game, where we learned that the whole pizzeria was just a trap made to lure the stray animatronics into the same place at the same time, so that they and the horrors of Freddy Fazbear's could be finished off once and for all in a final blaze of glory. Even though that technically happened once before in FNAF 3 and Springtrap survived. But hey, who's counting?
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what I do. And who of all people set up this trap? What is the identity of this mysterious cassette man? Well, the first clue we get is actually in the closing monologue.
Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
It's an old friend of William Afton's, Henry No Last
Damn. Ugh, that one hit so hard.
Name given. And if that lack of a last name sounds familiar, well, it should. I mentioned this guy a lot during that dark period where I used information from the books for my sister location theories. In the book series, he's the animatronic genius who partnered with William to create the Freddy bots. And this isn't only speculation. One of the secret endings, the insanity ending, proves that this is Henry. If during the game you buy this freak show egg creature for way too much money, it causes your computer's power button to switch from green to
what's
blue.
happening?
If you then hold the power button like you're starting the computer in safe mode,
it was really weird. My computer started acting really strange once that happened. I don't know if it's trying to say something.
Causes a hidden recording to play, an audio tape that happens to be labeled HRY, Henry. But the insanity ending shows us even more than just a light connection back to the novels. As Henry talks about his regret over ever helping William create the animatronics and his plan to lure everyone together to finish this off once and for all, we're shown a series of secret blueprints. Most of them provide a bit more detail into how this wacky world works. We're shown that Afton's scooper from sister location functions by infusing things with, for lack of a better term, soul energy, what Afton calls remnant. This is how Michael was able to survive as a purple corpse post his Ennard enema. We also see that Molten Freddy, formerly Ennard,
so he was okay. I didn't know that. That's what that's supposed to... Okay. This all starting to make sense to me. Why he was spitting up a corpse and shit. I was just, like, so lost of what was happening here.
The souls of Ballora, Funtime Freddy, and Funtime Foxy, and that our mission under paragraph 4 is to specifically collect and destroy the Remnant once and for all. Remnant is destroyed by overheating, hence the fire at the end. We even learned the detail that literally no one was asking for: how to simulate children. The RASC, or Remote Activated Simulated C, I'm assuming stands for child, simulates body temperatures of 98.6 degrees and then runs around making child noises. Hence how you're able to lure all the murderous animatronics around in this game, and also probably FNAF 3.
Yeah.
But what's most surprising is the final blueprint. Lefty, that oddball black bear that just showed up in this game. A bear that, according to its acronym, is programmed to lure something by emitting a bracelet code and then encapsulate it with a combination of lullabies and controlled shocks.
Ooh.
A bear suit that was made by Henry that has the sole purpose of capturing none other than the puppet. You can even tell it's already accomplished its goal if you look closely at this rare screen you sometimes get when you boot up the game.
Oh,
the signature
shit. Wait, whoa. Hold on.
Accomplished its goal if you look closely
There's
at this
puppet up
rare
there. Oh.
screen you sometimes get when you boot up the game. The signature striped arm of the puppet showing through the Lefty animatronic. But it doesn't stop there.
Wait.
If you buy and then play the security puppet minigame 3 times over the course of your week in the restaurant, you see a child trapped outside the pizzeria wearing a bracelet. The puppet, a security device of all things, is trained to respond to her specific bracelet code, green, and so it chases her outside only to find her dying in the alley, short-circuiting from the rain that's pouring down around it.
Oh my god.
And the two fuse into one. And this,
that's crazy.
Exactly
what?
Here in the game's true ending.
My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you and for those you have carried in your arms.
Henry's daughter.
God, that was such a crazy speech. Like, I did not, that ending caught me off guard so much. Because I heard the speech, but I didn't know that's what it was.
Victim is the puppet, the one who gave life to everyone that came after her.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Peace to their souls in FNAF 3. Finally confirmed after I'd been predicting it for 3 years since the release of FNAF 2. So, there you have it. Henry from the books is now canon in the games. His daughter is the puppet trapped inside Lefty. Everyone, including Michael, dies in the FNAF 6 fire, and Baby's name is established as Elizabeth in Henry's closing monologue. It's all pretty cut and dry. I mean, if you want to get really deep, the images on the walls in the alley are actually blurry contracts. You can tell based on the bullet points and oddly short paragraphs, which I have seen more than enough time to identify at a glance. And all of that relates back to that theme of what is paragraph 4, which has been Scott's calling card for this game. The creepy imagery of the ventriloquist and clown that you also see in the alleyway isn't teasing some new game like a lot of people have been assuming, but rather it's just an artistic recreation of the Afton family. William is the ventriloquist. The dummy who looks exactly like him represents Michael Afton, who, as we know, looks just like his father, just a smaller version.
So who are we playing as? That's the one thing I wanted to know. Because the person we're playing as, the one thing that always confused me, because at the end he's like, you know, I put a way out, but I'm not sure I don't think that's what you wanted. I don't know. I wonder who we volunteer, but is there somebody we're supposed to know of? That's what I thought, maybe Michael. I don't know, but Michael's dead, obviously. I didn't know he got scooped and stuff like that. That's a whole thing. That's a whole other thing I didn't know. That adds more context to what these other cutscenes were in this location I had no idea of. That's what I was trying to learn about, but yeah, damn.
Of him and has to parrot back a lot of what his father tells him to do. Elizabeth, aka Baby, is the clown for fairly obvious reasons, and the bear on the leash is just Crying Child, a child who is trapped and held back by his family, who ultimately dies in the hands of Fredbear. That's a cool
little artistic choice. I wouldn't have put that together. Damn.
Appropriate costumes that were mentioned by the phone guy calls from FNAF 3. Yeah, you remember those?
Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected.
They're the mediocre melodies crew from this game, which also happen to match up perfectly to the other masks that you see during FNAF 3's Happiest Day minigame. A green one is Happy Frog, the pink one is Pig Patch, Mr. Hippo is purple, there's some blue one for some reason, and then Orville the elephant is the orange one with the long nose. But for as
why is Sonic there?
as much as FNAF 6 explains, and it explains a lot pretty explicitly, it leaves open 3 huge questions. 3 questions that no one has been able to answer for the past 2 months until now. Or at least I'm pretty confident that I can answer 2 of those questions. For the 3rd one, I'm gonna need your help. Now, you don't need too much to get that true ending. You just salvage all the animatronics and survive all the nights. It's basic FNAFing 101.
Yeah, which is a pain in the ass.
But there's another layer to this game. An ending that goes one step beyond just the base storyline. The Lore Keeper ending, where things start to get complicated in a hurry. To unlock it, you have to play 3 specific minigames through to completion: Security Puppet, Fruity Maze, and Midnight Motorist. Security Puppet was easy to explain. The others, though, are where the questions start to pop up. In Fruity Maze, the game starts to become more and more unstable as you progress through the 3 levels. By the end of the 3rd stage, collectibles have transformed into slaughtered dogs and burial flowers. Your on-screen avatar is trailing bloody footprints, and the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl
See, I played that game. Like, I played the little mini game stuff like that, but I did not get to this part. I don't know. I think I didn't get past the first part because I was really confused, but...
reflected in the arcade screen is crying. And for good reason.
Yeah, I didn't know who the hell this was. That's what I was really confused about when this was popping up. I was like, who is this supposed to be?
Standing behind her is none other than the purple
I didn't see that.
guy, dressed in his golden best. Now, this one's confused a lot of online theorists, but in my opinion, it requires some process of elimination to solve. FNAF 6 is all about tying up loose ends, right? And at this point, the puppet set the souls of FNAF's core 4 of Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica, as well as Golden Freddy free in the Happiest Day minigame. Baby, the sister location crew, Springtrap, and the puppet are all taken care of by Henry in the true ending of FNAF 6, and the 3 toy animatronics from FNAF 2, which do seem to legitimately be tied to a security database, are scrapped at the end of their game. So who or what does that leave? Mangle. But I'm not saying that the girl is Mangle, I'm telling you it's her dog. Mangle is William Afton's first successful experiment with a remnant, dog remnant. Which now that I say it out loud sounds a lot more like dog duty than Miracle Soul formula, but let me explain. We obviously see that the girl's crying, but it's not because she's scared. We actually see that
William... testing on the dog, man. Oh, damn it.
Trap is able to have a normal conversation with her, saying, "He's not dead. He's still alive. Follow me." She's crying because her dog died, as represented on the screen. And that's the he that William's referencing here. Your dog is not dead. He is still alive. And we have proof that William isn't lying about this either.
And it makes sense why Mangle is... I was always confused on what Mangle's whole point was in this, and what Mangle was supposed to be, because it was the only one that seemed like it was vaguely never really explained. So it makes sense why Mangle does what she does.
Odd detail that I've never talked about, which is pretty incredible that after so many of these darn videos I'm still pulling out random factoids to piece into this puzzle. But in the Save Them minigame from way back in FNAF 2, you're in a building filled with 5 dead kids and Purple Guy. All the other animatronics are stationary except for one, Mangle. Alive and well, and unlike every other animatronic in the entire series, roaming around on all 4s. Even though Mangle technically walks around on 3 legs, but you get the point.
Yeah.
A design decision so important that we see Scott keep it in Mangle's quest from FNAF 3 as well. Mangle is alive without the puppet giving him gifts or giving him life. So how is the Mangle animatronic moving in this moment? William. Experimenting with animals and remnant. And as we see in the Fruity Maze, William uses the fact that the dog is still alive to lure this girl to her death, allowing her to be reunited with her dog forever. For more proof, notice that the dead dog in the Fruity Maze minigame is actually missing an eye, a detail that we see a chair with Mangle. Additionally, you ever notice how Mangle is the only animatronic that actually doesn't possess any human-like noises?
I was gonna say, yeah.
The core 4 all feature moaning, sighs, or laughs at various points throughout the series. Ballora, Baby, Springtrap, and the Fun Times all talk. Even the Nightmare animatronics breathe, which is a whole nother can of worms I'm not opening up today, but Mangle
yeah, we're gonna get really deep into this.
Garbled radio noises, almost like its cognitive functioning is much less than all the other possessed creatures in the series. So that's Fruity Maze, but then comes the biggie. Perhaps the most vague and bizarre moments from FNAF 6 come from the hidden Easter eggs in the final Lore Keeper minigame, Midnight Motorist. It
really?
starts simple enough.
Okay, I did play this. I didn't add it in the video because I thought it was just really nothing, but I played this. I didn't see anything.
Down racer game, but glitch through an opening in the bottom of the track, and suddenly you're on a rainy drive through a rural tree-filled landscape, visiting a bar named Junior's, and eventually making your way.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't see any of this.
A lonely house hidden deep in the woods. Out pops the driver, and he's orange? Thanks, Scott. We finally solved the identity of Purple Guy, and you just had to throw in one final monochromatic mystery man. Orange Guy? I like to call him Mustard.
His neck wasn't.
Man, he charges into the house and rages at the fact that someone, presumably his son, has locked himself in his room. He goes around the back to find a way in, only to discover that the window is broken with a set of footprints and some bear tracks, leading to, quote, that place again. And that's it. The minigame abruptly ends there. No matter how many times you replay this game, it's always the same. It's weird, it's disturbing, and most of all, it's frustrating, since it seems to introduce...
So is it supposed to be Purple Guy then? Is that what it's supposed to be? But he's orange. Or maybe, I don't know. I guess it would, I mean, the shape of it, and the neck, and everything. It looks like it would be him.
All new characters in a game that's mostly about bringing every other character's story to a close. But are these truly new faces? No. Look first at the house. A lone house in a clearing surrounded by trees. Believe it or not, but we've actually
seen
FNAF
this 4 house
before on the title screen.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, because it looked a little bit like that, because if we were talking about house, that was in the middle of nowhere. FNAF 4 is the only one that really had that.
In a clearing
and it looks like it was small enough.
Not only that, but both houses have 2 stories. Even the roofs look roughly the same. But now think back to a quote that I mentioned last episode about how Scott writes these stories. Quote, there have been other times, however, when my original intentions didn't come across clearly. In those instances, I make a point to clarify in the next game. FNAF 6 is all about clarifying.
Yeah, because it seems like everything was going like in like certain story elements going like a bad direction, like this, so like the dream theory, like FNAF 4, which I hated. So I'm glad they changed that stuff like that. And this location seemed like it was going a little bit all over the place, stuff like that. It seemed like there was a lot of, but it seemed like everything got wrapped up very well in this and whatnot, because it seemed like there was a lot of complaints of where the story was going. And he even said that I saw an interview with him, and he said like that the purpose was to wrap all this up again. So, which I'm glad, because it wrapped up a lot better than being stuck with like a dream theory or whatnot.
Explaining Remnant, explaining the Scooper, the puppet, and what's our connective tissue in this minigame? Someone sitting in a living room watching TV. And what did we see at the end of every night of Sister Location? Michael Afton going home after his shift to watch TV.
So it's gotta be Purple Guy then.
That figure there may look like a balding grandma, but it's good old Mike Casual Bongos Afton himself binging on his Immortal and the Restless. And I can further prove it via his text. Scott has always roughly adhered to the convention of dialogue colors being important. And this final game is no exception to this rule. Green bouncer dude talks in green, orange guy talks in orange, and Michael Afton on the couch talks in gray. Exactly like he did when he was laughing at his crying brother.
Okay, so that, oh, that's, okay, got it.
Back in FNAF.
I didn't know this was supposed to, okay.
4. It's definitely a slight...
Why did I not put that together till now? It seems like such an obvious plot point, but I didn't realize that Michael was the brother who put him, and he got his head chomped. I didn't know that. Why didn't I know that till now? That seems like such an obvious thing. Like, at first it surprised me, but then there's like another part of me that's like, why the hell did I just figure that out?
Slightly different shade, but he's also the only one in the entirety of this series to speak in gray lettering. They also both wear gray shirts, only the truly fashionable match their t-shirt to their font color. Couple all of that with him watching TV, the FNAF 4 title screen house, which always has a TV in it, and the character being protective over some him, say a younger brother, and you have yourself the perfect portrait of the Afton family, which would make Orange Guy Purple Guy, otherwise known as William Afton. He's even even got his signature purple car, the same one that we saw him use in the FNAF 2 Take Cake minigame before he killed off Henry's daughter. But why? Why would Scott choose to make William Afton some color other than purple for like the first time ever in the final game in the series? The answer is actually kind of mundane, because by this point in the series, there are two different purple guys, William and his son. It would have been confusing from a storytelling standpoint. Though, I do gotta say, Scott, it's not that much better, since now you're swapping in a whole new color for a character who's been represented by another color the whole time. It's a bit confusing. Anyway,
I wonder if it was made for a certain thing, though.
This mean?
There has to be a certain reason why he made it
did Scott choose to show us this random scene? What is he trying to explain about the story through the battle between an orange William Afton and a runaway child? All of that in just a few days. This video is really long already. Plus, in a game that tries to answer everything from the entirety of the series, what was in the FNAF 4 box? Was it truly left forgotten forever? Is Scott waiting to reveal its contents in a future game? Make sure you take...
I don't think he's gonna reveal it.
The Lore Keeper's final screen. After unlocking all of these glitched minigames, Scott presents us with a series of gravestones filled with names. Some familiar and some not so much. So, who are they? What do they reveal about the story? And how can you help me to solve Five Nights' last and most close... Okay,
I need to get to the next one. I need to know what that is. There's so much here that's new that I need to know what the hell's going on. Alright, we're gonna go to the next one. We're gonna go to the next one. This is FNAF 6. What was in the box? I'm curious to see what was in the box. I don't think he's going to reveal it himself, but, you know, and we can do some theories, because I think Scott was pretty set from what I heard that he's not going to tell what's in the box, but we can take some good theories.
As I cover what is perhaps the most infamous digital box of the last decade, FNAF 4's Locked Chest. Now, last episode we started to explore the idea that FNAF 6 is all about tying up loose ends. That as the last game in the Purple Guy saga, Scott's goal was to give us the information necessary to close the book on this chapter in Freddy's story. But to me, as someone who has studied these games inside and out, if there was one question that needed to be answered in a final game, it wasn't how Michael Afton was able to become a living purple corpse through Remnant, or how Henry was able to create a device that could somehow simulate child body temperatures. I didn't even care so much about the timeline at this point. No, what I wanted answered was the biggest lingering mystery of FNAF. What was in the box? Rewind back to FNAF 4, the game that utterly wrecked everyone's understanding of this franchise.
Yeah, from looking back at the game theory and stuff like that from the FNAF 4, it seemed like that really screwed with everybody's whole timeline of what this meant, because there's a lot of people who said the story doesn't make sense, but then it would go back and forth. Then we got the whole dream theory, and everything kept going all around in the circle all over the place. Yeah, it seemed like it got a mess, so I feel like it needed some kind of closure. If it was going to close off, it needed some kind of closure to tie everything off, so there was no heavy loose ends like that.
Beat the game, you get the iconic line of "I will put you back together," and then boom.
There's a FNAF 4, not FNAF 4, but like sister location, changing everything with with those little TVs and stuff like that popping up in that kid's room.
Literal mystery box that would make the likes of J.J. Abrams proud. Accompanied by the lines, "Perhaps some things are best left forgotten for now." But you know what? I never forgot. The fans never forgot. And I don't think Scott forgot either. So now, 2 years, 3 games, and 4 books later, I think I'm finally ready to break open the locks and reveal what was supposed to be in this thing versus what actually was in the thing. Because I have reason to believe that the contents of the box have changed 3 separate times. And that now, in the wake of FNAF 6, Scott has already shown us what is inside the box. Let me explain.
What?
FNAF 4 was released on July 20th.
I could see that. I could see it probably change, stuff like that. Stories probably changed around, stuff like that, for how people are perceiving things. So we probably had to change some things a lot around.
3rd, 2015. And with it, the mysterious box ending. Exactly 1 month later, August 24th, Scott made a post on Steam referencing a Halloween update for the game. An update where he had considered opening the box. Quote, "I wanted to post some information about the upcoming Halloween update. I started off a few months ago with several ideas in mind for what I wanted to release, ranging from DLC to a new game to opening the box, more on that later, but now I've been working steadily and have a pretty
I don't think he's ever opened the box. I could be wrong. I don't want it spoiled, but I don't think he's ever opened the box. I don't think he's going to. I think it is one of those things where it's like, adding the theories keeps everything going. And if you know, if you put everything out there and stuff like that, people aren't going to care anymore. So, or maybe they might be really disappointed in the answers. So I don't know. Maybe it is like a good thing to not tell. Maybe it'll keep everyone on their toes, and maybe one day you'll eventually tell.
Vision going forward, end quote.
Or if he ever decides to end off this franchise, he could ever do that, because obviously it's not over because the movie's coming out and stuff like that. But
so why wasn't the box included as a part of that update? Well, he explains it later in the post. Quote again. Now, I want to talk about what won't be included, the box. You know, when I released the first game over a year ago, I was amazed at how quickly everyone found every bit of lore and story. Then the same happened with part 2. Then part 3 came out, and once again the story was uncovered by the community. But then I released part 4, and somehow no one, not a single person, found the pieces. The story remains completely hidden. I guess most people assume that I filled the game with random Easter eggs this time. I didn't. What's in the box? It's the pieces put together. But the
ooh, that's like the way he's wording it. That's cool. That's a cool way, and it's like a cool little game he plays.
Your question is, would the community accept it that way? The fact that the pieces have remained elusive this time strikes me as incredible and special.
Yeah, would the community accept it that way? And everyone thought it was the dream theory.
A fitting conclusion. In
maybe
some
that's
ways,
what. Maybe that's what's.
I've decided
I don't know.
that maybe some things are best left forgotten forever. End quote. So clearly in the month after the release of the game, disappointed that the mysteries were staying hidden, Scott had already changed his mind about what he wanted to do with this box. And I just gotta say, Scott, my man, you didn't even give me a shot at this one. You changed your mind about a game's fundamental mystery in a month? I mean,
nobody got a single thing about. That's crazy.
Amount of time, all I could do was release a rushed out retrofitted prediction theory because I was stuck in con season when the game was released.
Yeah, that's so funny to me, because I remember when the game came out, everyone was like, "We're a VidCon! What the fuck?"
Man. So that begs the question of what he originally intended to be in the box. My theory: toys, a badge, a hospital wristband, and a picture of what eventually became known as the Afton family. The only time we would ever see them truly happy in this franchise. Remember, FNAF 4 was meant to be the final game in the series, and based on all the clues Scott left prior to the release of
Or maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't at the same time. Maybe it was like in his mind, but I don't think he... I don't know. There's a part of me that doesn't believe that he thought that was going to be the ending. I don't think so.
Absolutely intended for Freddy's to be a story told in the mind of a child. Maybe
not you know what? No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, because he said this is the end of one story. So... yeah, I could be wrong.
Dream theory would indicate, but perhaps in a coma or on the kid's deathbed. I mean, sure, let me be clear. Yes, there was absolutely a real-life string of murders informing this kid's visions, as evidenced by the puppet and the murder outside the restaurant. But I mean, look at what he just said in that Steam post. Most people assumed that I filled FNAF 4 with random Easter eggs. I didn't. And now look at everything that lines up in this game. Toys that match the look and behavior of the toy animatronics. People getting shoved into suits by a guy hidden in shadows that would probably look like a murder to a young child. A boy carrying a balloon to inspire Balloon Boy. Bullies who wear masks that perfectly match the nightmares. Shadows that would literally inspire shadow animatronics. A mangled toy. The concept of a plush Bonnie that bites you. A child's phone and a child's fan to simulate the night guard desk. People walking around in animatronic suits like Springtrap. A grandfather clock like you would find in your home going off to signal the end of the night. The list goes on and on and on. And even though he'd moved on with the story, Scott still wanted us to figure it out, which is why on our October 5th, 2015 GT Live, Scott crashed the live stream, giving us explicit clues to figure it out. 4 games, 1 story, why is Toy Chica missing her beak, and what is seen in shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. All 3 clues, again, pointing to the conclusion of some sort of coma theory, with the box containing the items alluding to that story. Toys and plushies to show where all the ideas for the animatronics came from. A badge to show that this kid's father worked at the restaurant as a security guard. A hospital band to make it clear that the child was rushed to the hospital in the aftermath of the Fredbear bite, and a happy family that we see shattered in the aftermath of a stupid prank. This box is locked and hidden away in an attic or a basement when the child dies. The memories it contains are too tough to bear. But the line of, would the community accept it that way, is the key phrase in all of this. Scott knew that the story, as he envisioned it, would be controversial for a fan base that was literally comparing shades of purple across the series. He had a solution to the story that he wanted to tell, but was now trapped by his own success. People were too interested in his mystery box, which is why...
I'm curious. I hope he says it one day. Like, maybe when this is all over and he's completely done with this franchise forever, that maybe I'm hoping that he would, like, reveal it and stuff like that, because it'd be interesting to hear it. I mean, like, people could theorize all day and stuff like that, but, like, I mean, I feel like at some point he's got to reveal it, right? I'd love to hear the full out what thought process behind that box and stuff like that, rather than, you know, he can't speak about what's in the box, because I don't know, I think it'd be cool to hear.
Sister location and everything afterward emphasized more real-life events, scoopers and remnant and literal purple people walking around outside. But before he got to that point, there was one other course correction: FNAF World, the pimply-faced puberty of the franchise. The game that, also like puberty, everyone wants to forget, Scott himself. And it was here that Scott tried to unveil the mystery of the box.
I'm gonna play that next. You know what? I'm gonna reveal that right now. Well, after Custom Night, I will be playing FNAF World. Keep in tune for that, because I didn't know there was lore in it, so I feel like I gotta play it now.
In time. If you play through the game normally, you would never see any connections to the box. You would just play through this bizarre fever dream of an RPG, and then finally kill Scott Coffin himself as the final boss of the game. Yeah, in case you skipped over FNAF World, Scott is one of the final bosses and complains about how obnoxious the fans of the series can get. It is...
Wait, what? I just do what is demanded of me. I fill your unsustainable gullets with more and more and more, and now here you are to show your gratitude. Oh, damn. Oh, he's the boss? That's crazy. Congratulations, then. I haven't brought this story to an end. You did, so feel good about yourself for ending the story by killing the storyteller.
And
I don't know, was he upset by this? Was he upset by them or stuff like that? I don't know. I feel like this is a little bit of a jab at the fan base, maybe for that whole Dream Theory backlash or whatever. I don't know.
Undeniably passive-aggressive. Anyway, if you linger on the opening
like he's a little
between
upset.
Your character and Fredbear, you unlock a hidden quest that lurks beneath the surface of the game that was undoubtedly meant to tie into the mystery of the box. We're told that the quest requires us to, quote, leave breadcrumbs for him to help him find his way. The him we're helping is FNAF 4's bite victim, and we know this from the opening dialogue. Quote, something has gone wrong. That's why I'm here. But I won't let the same happen to you. I will put you back together. Haha, the classic FNAF 4 line. So infuriatingly vague. Anyway, that line confirms that the you being talked about here is the bite victim, that the something has gone wrong is referring to the bite itself, and that the yellow eyes doing the talking, the one who is trapped here, is the puppet. From here, your secret quest is to find a series of clocks and complete mini-games that directly relate to the steps necessary to unlock FNAF 3's happiest day ending. You push Balloon Boy into a box, you press 4 arcade buttons, you set up 4 cupcakes, etc., etc. And if you do everything correctly, your secret ending reads as follows. Quote, we're still your friends. Do you believe that? The pieces are in place for you. All you have to do is find them. And we know from FNAF 3 that the pieces are indeed found. On the cutscenes between nights, we find the clues that FNAF World left for us hidden in the hallway, telling us to do things like double-click Balloon Boy and collect the 4 cupcakes, which then enables us to complete...
Yeah, I always thought FNAF World was an interesting place, like, to put story points and stuff like that. I don't know, the theme of FNAF World was and stuff like that, without it being like... I feel like he kind of corrected it a little bit with how the newest one went with FNAF 6 and stuff like that. I feel like he did it in a way better way with doing a balance between the two, rather than going like a full-out troll game and stuff like that, because that's what he did in that one. And it seems like having like FNAF and that together works better than just doing a full-out one that people weren't too happy about, from what I heard, and he's not too happy about.
Mini-games and release the spirits once and for all. But the important line of this FNAF World ending is...
I did hear the interview, him talking about why he did it and stuff like that, because he needed a little bit of a mental break from the story and stuff like that, which makes sense. I mean, we put all those games out, those 4 games out in like 2 years and stuff like that. Imagine putting a lot of thought into it does drain somebody after that long, or that dark of a story.
The pieces are in place for
and you have to think of some fucked up shit to go to that place, too.
a line that very intentionally mirrors the language Scott used to describe the contents of the box in the first place. What's in the box? It's the pieces put together. And if you think that this is just a linguistic coincidence, it's not. Remember, Scott doesn't do coincidence, because here's the real shocker. While trolling through the game's texture files, Reddit user Poi2010-201, or at least his was the earliest post that I could find discussing this discovery, found that FNAF 4's box was actually hidden in FNAF World's code. But it wasn't just the box, it was a texture of the box, unlocked and opened. So, for a second time, we clearly see that Scott had plans to reveal what was inside.
How the hell do you guys find this stuff, man? I just gotta ask, how the hell do you find this stuff? This is all went over my head. I mean, like, I don't know how you guys can find this stuff. Too smart for me.
Box. Which then begs the question, what was in it this time? And honestly, it's hard to say. As you can probably tell, FNAF World played with the lore of the main series in some very unusual ways. For instance, the clock quest showed that this weird, self-aware video game world was somehow able to influence the events of the real world, leaving breadcrumbs in the real world that you would be able to follow in FNAF 3. But because the game ends with the line, "the pieces are in place for you to follow," it implies that the guard we're playing as in FNAF 3, the one who is actually finding these clues, was the bite victim, which then opens up an entirely different can of worms. And if it's all true that
I don't think that's true. There's no, I don't think that's true.
It is stuck in this weird nebulous.
I hope that wasn't true. I thought it was my. Isn't my? I heard. God damn. Okay, I don't know, because there's a part of me that heard it's Michael Afton. Like, I heard the rumor that Michael Afton was the one as the security guard, stuff like that. But I don't know where that comes into play. If it was the kid, no.
FNAF World, then the world of the game is literally, or symbolically, limbo or death. Anyway, it's very messy. If I were to guess, Scott planned on FNAF World, the game, actually being the box. A game that literally contained all the pieces.
That's not him, right? That's not the crying kid. There's no way. There's no way. I don't know. That kind of takes away the whole ending. Or no. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe he'd be in the animatronics suit. I don't know how that would work. I don't know. I guess that would make sense because Michael Afton going after him, playing the kids and stuff like that. Maybe come back as an adult, but I just feel like it doesn't make sense with everything. I don't know, because, yeah.
Of this franchise put together. Yeah, it's a bit symbolic and half-baked, but, you know, so was FNAF World. But it was here that the mystery would change direction yet again. This time, though, it wasn't the community that prompted the change, but rather Scott himself, who made it clear that he was dissatisfied with FNAF World as a rushed and unpolished release.
Yeah.
Embarrassed by the game,
and probably him adding in that thing at the end was probably his way of forcing something in and stuff like that, which would. That kind of makes sense why the ending is the way it is, and you could tell with him saying it rushed and, you know, whatnot. Makes sense.
With its own little segment of the franchise.
Probably being rushed and, you know, being frustrated, probably added in that at the ending and stuff like that, which, you know, if he wants to forget, that makes sense. Yeah, he made up for it, though. He made up for it with Sister Location, which was a great game.
To focus on the new, more human drama-esque direction that the series would take moving forward. You can see this, actually, through creative changes like the game's new ending, which revealed Henry and Baby for the very first time, as well as some lines that got added between updates, with glitched Fredbear foreshadowing something terrible coming, aka Baby. Instead of being focused backwards on details from previous games like the Bite Victim and the FNAF 3 minigames, the game was now looking forward to a game that had yet to be released, which left the box and the resolution it promised for the entirety of the Freddy story once again abandoned. And when both Sister Location and FNAF 6 rolled credits with no mention of boxes, that's exactly where it seemed like it would stay, forgotten forever. But I wasn't convinced. For as convoluted as the story often is, Scott cares too much about it, and cares too much about this community to leave a mystery this big unanswered. My first thought about connecting the box to the new game was Candy Cadet, the best character to ever come out of this franchise.
Candy.
If you visit Candy Cadet enough times and give him enough tokens, he'll tell you one of 3 separate stories, all sharing the same general theme of 5 objects merging.
What? I didn't see this. I don't think I ever bought this one.
And then being put
I don't think I ever got far enough because I couldn't get past night 5, but what?
In the first,
so what does he
5
do?
keys are melted together into one key by a mother trying to save imprisoned kids with everyone dying trapped in their own room. The second has 5 kittens in danger of being eaten alive by a snake, the remains of which get sewn together and stored in a shoebox. And the third, well, the third is the most uplifting story as 5 orphans get adopted by a man who wants to protect them from a burglar, and it doesn't go so well.
He left one day.
The most uplifting story.
By food, his heart being filled with gladness, but returned to find that the burglar had chosen his home, and killed all 5 of the children. The man could only afford one coffin, so he stitched the 5 bodies together to make one, and buried the child. That night, there was a knock at the door.
What the fuck? Wait, why was there an ad now? No. Gucci, get off my screen. Not right now. No! Hold on.
So clearly, the Candy Cadet stories were making some connection to boxes. But what did all these stories mean? Characters getting stitched together
Put them back together.
Made me think of Ennard, but even at Ennard's peak, he only had 4 characters inside of him. Freddy, Foxy, Ballora, and Baby. So that one didn't quite work out. Famously, there were 5 children killed as a part of the missing children's incident, but their souls individually ended up in animatronics rather than being put together and crammed into the same box. There are 5 other games in the series, so maybe this is all a meta commentary about the franchise itself, but then what would it mean to stitch them together? Just solve the story? Or the stories fixating on different moments of the Freddy timeline? Suffice it to say, Candy Cadet led me straight to a dead end. A dead and stitched together end, that is. I gotta say, I scoured the game. I knew the box was hidden here somewhere, and I suspected that Candy Cadet was involved in some way, but I was so overwhelmed with information at this point. Clues whirling past me, vague minigames and stories that had no concrete answers. Details of games upon games, cut, unused content. The box needed to be some solution that brought together all of these separate pieces. And then finally, the storm cleared and it all clicked. The final image of the game. During the true ending, Henry calls in to unveil his trap.
You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit. A maze with no prize.
We then see the schematics of the ventilation system we've been working with throughout the entire game. We see it for a long time as the center square, the actual pizzeria filled with kids, fades away. And what we're left with is a familiar shape. A box. A rectangular box. A locked box. A box with no exit. A box where, according to our responsibilities in paragraph 4, we put all the pieces together by salvaging the remaining animatronics, playtesting the minigames for all of the hidden lore, and finally bring the FNAF storyline to its end once and for all. As we bring this story to a close, what did Scott finally decide to do with the box? He made it Henry's trap in FNAF 6 to lure the final pieces together and finish him off once and for all. Like Candy Cadet told us
Okay. Yeah. Maybe.
Over and over again in its 3 stories. The box is filled with 5 dead things becoming one. 5 children killed, sewn together, and buried in one coffin. 5 dead kittens, sewn together and kept in one shoebox. 5 keys melted together and torched in one room. And in our case in FNAF 6, 5 animatronics trapped in one pizzeria simulator and burned. And this works any way that you count it. Baby, Springtrap, and Molten Freddy, who we know according to his blueprint has 3 animatronics in him, thus making 5, or you can count it Baby, Springtrap, Molten Freddy, Puppet, and our character who we play as Michael. 5 characters, all essential to the FNAF story, brought into one box to die. Even Henry himself has a role here in the Candy Cadet stories. He's the innocent of those stories, the one who started with good intentions who ultimately fails to protect those under his care. He's the mom who lets the kids burn. He's the kid who leaves the snake's cage open. It's Henry's negligence that allows the snake, the burglar William Afton, to claim so many lives. We hear him lament this in the insanity ending.
It's only now that I understand the depth of the depravity of this creature, this monster that I unwillingly helped to create.
This was Scott's subtle nod to the box.
Oh, shit. Whoa, okay. I guess that would make sense for the box. There's 2 boxes. I guess kinda. I don't know. Maybe. Would that be the ending? I guess that would make sense, kinda. Maybe.
In FNAF's final game.
That's like a big maybe. I don't know. Like, there's a sense of me that could buy that, and there's another sense of me that's like, I don't know.
the way to work it in after all the twists and turns his story had to take over the years? Was it what he originally intended for it? Absolutely not.
Yeah, probably
is it the
not,
most
no.
obvious explanation? Not by a long shot.
Yeah, I would say this is a really kind of like reach point.
That this animatronic empire started as one big unexpected twist in Scott's life.
Because it could be, it easily could be, right? But then Scott could throw something in and then it's not. So that's why there's a part of me that's like, I don't think so.
Then fueled by a story full of not so obvious narrative moments, having the box end up being a symbol for the franchise's final climactic moment, it feels right. If I can borrow from Scott's original description, it feels special, a fitting conclusion. And with that, there's only one theory left to go. The analysis I promised for Midnight Motorist and the mystery of the Lorekeeper Graves. Two questions that close out these games for what feels like the final time, but begin to point towards what the future might hold for the Freddy's series. More on that soon. Not next episode, since if I do more than 2 of these things in a row, people get really mad at me, but definitely soon, since I want to put this thing to rest as much as you guys. I could use, at the very least, a complete refresh on this whole thing and start from scratch again. So ring the bell to ensure that we all close out the Freddy saga together. And in the meantime, remember, that's just a theory. A game theory.
Oh my god. Interesting. And then the other ones say these are Ultimate Custom Nights, so I imagine it's not really... Maybe this one, hold on. All right, I'm back. It's been a couple hours, and so I was looking through this playlist, right? And I thought, because it's a FNAF 6 Ultimate Custom Night, that this kind of just ended with FNAF 6, right? But I guess there's 2 more videos that kind of expand the lore of FNAF 6. I thought it was just all like based on like the theories of the custom night. So we're gonna watch these last 2 videos. This video is about to be long as hell, but oh well. If you guys want to see all original 4 videos, be linked in the description. This one, the first one's called FNAF Stump Me, because I watched a little bit of it, and it looks like it's gonna about to answer some of the questions I had earlier. So yeah.
Because Scott has been quietly working away on his pièce de résistance, Ultimate Custom Night. All your favorite characters from all the games attacking you all at the same time. 51.
Oh, I haven't played it yet as of the time of recording this. I'm gonna be playing it actually right after this video is done. I thought I was done with this video, but this gave me an excuse to hold off on it for a little bit. Because how about, no, this is about to be scary as fuck. I'm probably gonna do multiple parts, like live stream wise. I'll do one video doing like challenges and stuff like that, attempting some of the challenges, but there's no way I'm gonna beat this in a video. No possible chance. This is more of a live stream type of game from everything I've seen. So yeah, 51. How do you manage to do that? How do you manage to even fend them all off? I have no clue. Like, I have no knowledge of this game at all. I just know there's like a million of these guys.
Characters all able to be cranked up to level 20. I gotta be real, Markiplier.
20. 50.
It'd be time to be giving up your FNAF crown.
Yeah, Markiplier didn't even beat it. I heard that. Markiplier did not beat that one, so that's crazy.
Only be one. Doko, save us. You're only
Yeah, because he beat it. I remember it was like if he beat it, he would get a Scott Cawthon interview. The only reason I know that is because I watched that interview and they made that agreement, which that's kind of a cool agreement.
Long to come out, that's one of the big reasons why. I was afraid that, like the last custom night, I'd be working on the theory and the DLC would come out with hidden scenes explaining the lore, and then suddenly I'd have to contend with even more purple people puking up robotic spaghetti in the middle of the streets. But based on Scott's playtesting, where right now he's averaging a survival time of 15 seconds, it looks like I may have an opening here. It's been a while. Let me remind you that we've already covered a lot of ground here in videos 1 and 2 of the series. Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator, otherwise known as FNAF 6, was created with the intention to tie up a lot of loose ends, both for Scott and for the game franchise. We learned that William's business partner Henry, who we were first introduced to back in FNAF World and later in the novels, does in fact play a role in the mainline series of the games. Henry is canon. In FNAF 6, he creates a simulated pizzeria to serve as a trap, luring in all the remaining animatronics. One could say it was a locked box to put all the pieces together. Henry then pulls a Thanos and turns everyone into an ashy pile.
That's such a crazy way to think about it, about how he just lured them in just to like, damn.
Feeling too good, Foxy.
Henry's hit list included Springtrap, aka William Afton, aka the metaphorical purple guy, Baby, aka William's daughter Elizabeth, Ennard, aka the combination of Molten Freddy / Ballora / Funtime Foxy, your player character Michael Afton, aka the literal
So we do play as Michael Afton then.
Guy who puked up robot spaghetti, and the newcomer Lefty, like Wally, but
or that's not who. Wait, okay, what? Okay, so what I was thinking. Wait, okay, so what I'm probably thinking is, so it is him then. That's confirmed then, because he kept saying, like, and Springtrap kept talking about, like, oh, you might not recognize me, but I'm still me. So I was wondering, who was he referring to then? So how does that work with the purple guy then? Like, with him puking up then? How does that work? How does that play in with anything like that? I don't understand.
But with less robot lovey-dovey and more robot stabby-stabby. We learn through the hidden insanity ending and other in-game clues that Lefty is a containment suit, built specifically by Henry to lure and trap the puppet, which is possessed by the spirit of his deceased daughter who remains nameless.
Damn.
The insanity ending also gave us clues as to how the Funtime animatronics function. Unlike the OGs, the Funtimes are heated up and infused with remnant. It's basically soul juice that's extracted from kidnapped children. But that was all just surface stuff. Through our analysis of the Fruity Maze minigame and clues from FNAF 2, we were able to piece together that this dead dog is probably Mangle, and that this girl becomes one of Afton's early victims. It's clearly not his daughter, notice the eye color, and it's not Henry's daughter, notice the hair color, so it must be one of William Afton's victims. And that's pretty much everything we covered in my last 2 videos. But now it's time to get to the new stuff, starting with this girl. Not only do we know that this is one of William Afton's earliest victims, we also know that her name is Susie and that she goes on to possess Chica. That's
okay.
Right.
That's what I say. Is she one of the original 5 kids then?
On this image. If you manage to find all the game's Easter eggs, you unlock the Lore Keeper certificate and a final screen at the
God, I gotta do a live stream to this game too. I gotta do a live stream just to, like, go through and see what the game's finished. But god damn, man, that last night, such a motherfucker.
End of the game, a hillside filled with gravestones. Graves with a very diverse set of names. 5 in the foreground with 1 name obscured and 1 in the back with, again, the name hidden from view. Trust me, I tried my best to pull a CSI on that one. Enhance. Enhance again. Enhance a 3rd time.
Say, like, get trolled or something like that? Here lies Asad Butters.
Seem pretty familiar, right? 4 graves.
I don't know what you're talking about. I see that as a win.
4 names, 3 boys and a girl, which perfectly matches up to our core 4 animatronics. 3 boy robots and a girl robot. To further solidify,
so I imagine the one over here was like Golden Freddy or something like that, or whoever it might be.
Look at how the graves are arranged. It's a pattern that's identical to the arrangement of the masks in the good ending of FNAF 3. Even down to the girl character being 3rd in line and slightly behind the other 2. Coincidence? I think you know the answer to that by now. Then you have this mysterious 5th grave hidden off to the side. That one definitely contains the soul of whoever winds up possessing Golden Freddy.
Yep.
More on that one later. And lastly, there's this one overlooking them all. Up on the top of the hill, that's the puppet. Henry's daughter, the one who watches over the rest. 6 main characters, 6 graves, and the same 6 characters that we see fade away during the Happiest Day minigame at the end of FNAF 3's good ending. In short, what the gravestone scene is revealing to us is who...
Damn, that's just sad. Like, the more, like, these stories go on and stuff like that, it's like, damn, I feel bad.
These victims are, with Susie as Chica. That also means Freddy is really named Gabriel, Foxy is Fritz.
I think it's because of how many times I've been watching these game theories and how many times I've been playing these games over the last few months that I've been, like, really attached to all these now. So it's like, damn, you know?
And Bonnie is Jeremy. It's also relatively easy to figure out the name on the puppet's grave, Charlie, or Charlotte, one of the 2. We know this not through the games, but rather through the books. But the books aren't canon, I hear you saying, and you're absolutely right, they're not. But they're starting to cross over very heavily. For instance, the entire reveal of William Afton having a business partner named Henry, he was first introduced in the Silver Eyes long before Sister Location ever came out. You ever wonder about this weird wolf poster hanging in the alley of FNAF 6? It's actually one of the twisted animatronics from the second novel, The Twisted Ones, who are programmed to hide during the day by burying themselves in shallow graves, then dig themselves up at night to roam the countryside looking for innocent victims to gore.
What the fuck?
Wouldn't you know it, but that's exactly what we see hinted at in the FNAF 6 minigame Midnight Motorist. By going through the game's secret exit and then plowing your car into this random area between the trees, you're able to get out in a clearing in the middle of a forest, and in the upper left corner of the screen is a pile of unmarked dirt. You can't interact with it, the game doesn't acknowledge it at all, but very clearly it is intentionally there. It's super random, right? It is, until you read The Twisted Ones. Or have me read it for you, because seriously, that's why I'm here. Page 74, quote, "When Charlie reached the backyard, she stopped dead. Before her were 3 huge holes in the ground. They looked like graves. Something climbed out of these," end quote. So clearly, even though the books aren't canon, there is significant crossover with the characters and events from the series. In the books, Henry had a daughter named Charlotte. In the games, Henry has a daughter who goes on to become the puppet. It only makes sense for them to share the name, hence gravestone number 5. But it's gravestone number 6 where, I gotta be honest, after months of brainstorming, working and reworking sequences of events and analyzing imagery, I have to regrettably admit defeat. You heard that right. For the first
you can't
time
figure out who
ever
Golden
on
Freddy
the
is?
show, I have to throw in the towel. Now, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of leads here. Loose threads that I know go somewhere, and I feel like I'm just a step or 2 away from putting it all together, but I just can't quite do it, and I hate to admit it, and honestly, that is the other reason why this video has taken so long for me to write and put together. I didn't want to admit defeat. I didn't want to come to you without a complete idea of what was going on, but honestly, at this point, I'm almost out of ideas, and I need your help, or maybe even a little helpful nudge from Scott Cawthon in the comments to help put it all together, which honestly could be a very cool group project for all of us to work on together. Anyway, let me explain. Grave 6 obviously belongs to Golden Freddy, and once we know that name, we'll finally be able to uncover the source behind the mysterious repeated messages of "It's me" that have been popping up since FNAF 1. It is a huge deal. And here's the biggest twist of them all. We're not shooting in the dark here. Scott has already given us all the information that we need to solve what the name actually is. You see, the trio of novels isn't the only book that Scott Cawthon's released.
I thought in one of the videos he maybe figured it out. I don't know.
Late last year, Scott released the Five Nights at Freddy's Survival Logbook, an activity workbook for kids filled with things like simple quizzes about the games, drawing projects, and writing prompts. The theme is that you're a new night guard at the Freddy's restaurant. It's adorable! Until you realize it's a book asking kids who their stuff would go to when they die a gruesome, horrific death trapped.
What? Wait, if you were dying and work accident, for instance, being stuff inside an animatronic suit, who are the people you missed the most? Damn! Ooh, you're selling this to kids? Ooh, I don't. Ooh, okay. I get it's part of the story and all that, but that's kind of rough, man.
Inside a furry suit. It's some dark stuff. But perhaps the darkest part of the book is the dabbing chica.
Why the fuck is there a dabbing chica? Get that shit off my screen.
Problem solved.
Anyway, things start to feel more than they seem from page 1, when it's revealed that this book once belonged to a guy named Mike. And one look at the book's word search immediately clues you in that there's way more here than meets the eye, putting the likes of Gravity Falls Journal number 3 on blast. Basically, the Five Nights at Freddy's Survival Logbook is a book-length metagame dedicated to revealing Golden Freddy's real name, all disguised as a children's activity workbook. It is unquestionably my favorite thing that this franchise has yet.
But it's funny, it's like that is like a kid's workbook when, you know, probably some kids are taking this to school and the teacher sees that, like, what do you mean stuff to the stew? You die? What? You know, there's probably a lot of questions. I don't know, it's kind of a little strange to put in a kid's book.
Deuce. That is no exaggeration. This thing is so cool.
I get the whole story behind it and stuff like that, but damn.
But the problem is, I can't solve it. Here's how it all breaks down. Several pages throughout the book contain faded text that says, "My name." Each of those pages with that text also has a numeric clue hidden on it. Sometimes it's written in plain sight, sometimes with numbers out of place, sometimes the page number itself is wrong. Page 29 is numbered 52, page 32 is numbered 39, page 43 is numbered 15. On page 47, the numbers 7 and 2 appear out of order in this survey question. On page page 85, we're presented with a list, and numbers 10 and 11 appear in red. On page 108, the time 811 appears on an incident report that Mike was supposed to log in. So putting all those numeric clues in order, we get 52, 39, 15...
When he does stuff like this, right, Scott, does he just do this all in, like, one sitting? Like, how long does it take him to come up with this kind of things, these schemes and whatnot, right? Just out of curiosity, how long does this take him? Because this probably has to take a while, right? There's no way he just takes this, like, off the cuff.
7, 2, 10, 11, 8, 11. But that's just the beginning. Throughout the book, there are some coupons for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. On one of those coupons, we see that Mike wrote himself the
Damn, save $16. Hell yeah.
You see page 61.
Damn, how long? How much is their food? What?
You flip over to page 61 and suddenly you see a finish the comic strip exercise where in one of the panels, Foxy and Freddy stand in front of a chalkboard with 5 + 4 written in one part and a 3 written in the bottom right corner. To me, this very clearly tells us that we need to add the two numbers together on each of those 6 pages from earlier to get the real value for that page. 5 + 2 is 7, 3 + 9 is 12, 1 + 5 is 6, 7 + 2 is 9, 10 + 11
okay,
is
we're going
21,
deep. We're going real deep
19.
here.
7, 12, 6, 9, 21, 19, which seems like it's giving us a code to a 6-letter name. But now, what do you do with those numbers? Well, one page in the book contains a giant grid that encourages readers to draw in 8 bits. But if you look closely at the grid's axes are actually numbered, and there are tiny letters in the grid's first few boxes. It seemed to me like this grid was setting up an alphanumeric code where the numbers each get represented by a different letter. Putting 7, 12, 6, 9, 21, and 19 into that, you get Gilpheus. It's clearly not Golden Freddy's real name.
All that build up for Gilpheus. So this is just him just saying he doesn't know who Golden Freddy is. Got it. That's the sum up of his last few minutes, is that he doesn't know who Golden Freddy is. Oh, I just watched that whole video just for it to say I don't know who Golden Freddy is. That's really funny. Oh, damn. Okay, so we're going to the next one. FNAF, the theory that changed everything. All right, last video. Okay, so he's figured it out.
Says the night guard during Sister Location. When asked what he would like for his 1-week bonus, we see him doodling in the corners of the page baskets of money and baskets of exotic butters.
Why butters? Why does he want butter so fucking bad, dude? What's your obsession with butter? Are you just eating like let me ask this. Are you like actually like smearing out the butter, like, you know, put it on toast, or, you know, people cook butter. I don't cook it with butter, but like, do you just eat the butter like chocolate bars? You know, just that shit, or what do you do? Like, I just, what is your exotic butters? What the hell are exotic butters? Cosmetic raw materials that are extracted from the seeds and nuts of tropical fruits that grow in the remote tropical jungles. You know, that doesn't sound as bad as I thought that might have. Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna try it, but...
Other page, he's drawing a smooth set of casual bongos. Sure, it's nothing earth-shattering, but when it comes to this franchise, getting any portion of any theory confirmed is a big win. And while that reveal might not be all that earth-shattering, you know what is? The book reveals that Michael Afton is who we play as in FNAF 4. On page 40, the workbook starts asking about...
What? No. No, it's not. No. There's no way. There's no fucking way. Please tell me that theory's not true. Please. I don't know how I feel about that. I'd rather him just remain as a brother at that point.
And via his doodles, we see that Mike somehow knows the appearance of Nightmare Fredbear, something only the protagonist of FNAF 4 should be aware of. To further confirm this, on page 23 of the book, the spirit who uses the book to talk to Mike outright asks, was your favorite childhood toy a plastic purple telephone? Which, as you may remember, is a direct reference to the purple telephone.
So, is he the only kid? No, he's not the only kid, because of the brother, right? Who's the brother then? What place does he have?
Around in the FNAF 4 bedroom. And if you still think it's a coincidence, it's not. 20 pages later, the spirit starts talking about whether any of the toys on the page look familiar. Most don't, except for one. the phone. Now, for the 8 of you who still remember how this whole freaking story fits together, you might be asking me, but we all thought the protagonist of FNAF 4 was the crying child, the one who gets himself bitten during the birthday party because you have flashes of a hospital bed and hear a flatline at the end of the game. We also assumed that the animatronic nightmare was representative of death. And you know what? You're absolutely right. That makes no sense. Exactly what we've been thinking. And here's the thing. We weren't wrong. We've apparently been right about all of that, except there was one teeny tiny itsy bitsy little wrinkle that we didn't expect. Michael Afton was the bite victim. Michael Afton was the crying child.
What? Wait, but I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense. I saw him bang his head though. Oh, that was really funny. But no, I don't. But how does that make sense with Michael Afton being there, but seeing the cameras in that other room? Maybe it was him to see Michael. I don't know. I don't know what period that plays into with the brother and stuff. Like I don't. There's a lot of things that just doesn't make sense to me, though.
No, I couldn't believe it either. But the proof here is
doesn't make sense, though. That's why I'm not understanding who's the brother and how did he survive that? And then survive the skeleton inside of him, and then with the video camera inside the house. Who's sitting at the couch and that other what?
75, a page asking
still
about
Michael, but who's in that other room then? If I don't know.
Imaginary friends, and featuring the psychic friend Fredbear plush, the spirit outright asks, does he still talk to you? And perhaps the most damning piece of evidence of all, on page 103, the huge reveal, quote, the party was for you. Mike Afton is confirmed to be the crying child. He's the bite victim. He's the one who, at the end of the game, apparently needed to be put back together. It seems undeniable at this point. But then that leads to the obvious next question. How could he have been bitten and died there, but then also be in sister location as an adult, gotten himself scooped, blah, 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 until FNAF 6 when he finally burns with the rest of his family? I have been smacking my head against a wall trying to make sense of it all. And I have some theories. Big surprise there. It's interesting. When I did my final FNAF theory, not that one. My final FNAF theory. No, not that one either. Those are technically FNAF 6 theories.
Yeah, which one are we going to? Okay.
When I did this theory, I concluded that the story of FNAF was, at its core, a story about a family, the Afton family. But now it's becoming increasingly clear to me that it's really the story of Michael Afton specifically. 4 games, 1 story, like Scott said back during the FNAF 4 days so long ago. It's the story of the crying child growing up, discovering the atrocities of his father, and then trying to make amends for those. We know for a fact that Michael Afton is the main character of FNAF 1 from the endgame paycheck, sister location from the name tag and custom night.
Found it. It was right where you said it would be.
FNAF 6 from Henry's closing monologue, and now FNAF 4 from the survival logbook. And we're still not done. The survival logbook also connects Mike to FNAF 2. On page 56, the spirit asks, was your favorite ride the carousel? A question that only makes sense if Mike had been to the FNAF 2 location, because it's the only one with a carousel. That means that the only game without a solid connection to Mike is FNAF 3. But then there's the whole...
Father, it's me.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Complete with a burned down Fazbear fright in the background, which seems to be hinting at him being the person who burned the place down, trying to put an end to his father's reign of terror. Michael
That's what I thought. That's why I put two and two together. I thought it was him who burnt it down. Because that makes no sense of him saying that as well.
Shares a connection with the dead children whose names appear on the gravestones, going back to the survival logbook. See, I told you guys this thing was important. When the book asks about missing people on account of them being stuffed into animatronic suits, the spirit asks, do you miss them? It clearly connects.
So I guess that makes sense if it's a location when you go to enter this little area, right? And you go put the TVs on and then it shows that house. I guess it makes sense why it's that house that's there. If that's him the whole time, but I don't know how he survived all that. I didn't manage to keep going and still as a person. Like, I don't know.
Next, Michael Afton to the other missing kids who go on to possess the animatronic suits. This means that Michael is connected to every game and every major character in the story. So let's update it to 6 games, one story. Michael's story. Which is all very beautiful to say, but seriously, what is that story? If you've been paying attention, we still have a pretty big elephant in the room, i.e. a dead kid who somehow grows up to become an immortal purple skin suit for robot spaghetti. Oh, and if the game wasn't complicated enough, Michael might not even be his real name. The spirit in the logbook repeatedly asks him, what do you remember? And even more importantly, do you remember your name? It's even hidden in the freaking word search. And I haven't even mentioned the other elephants in the room, like how very clearly the gravestones relate to the kids in the animatronic suits, and yet 2 of those names directly tie back to the security guards from FNAF 2.
Oh. Oh. Whoa. Okay. What? Wait, what?
And if you want to go really, really deep, like you know I love to do, you see Susie's font on her gravestone? Did you know it's the same font that's used to introduce each night of FNAF 4? That's something that no one else online has noticed, and if fonts are important, which remember, they probably are, Scott doesn't do coincidences.
Yeah, because all the other ones are like in bold and whatnot.
Stones with completely different fonts is probably important in some way. Notice how 2 of the gravestones share the same font, but it's not Jeremy and Fritz, which you would probably expect since they're the 2 who are mentioned in FNAF 2. There are so many freaking elephants in this room. It is a very crowded room. Remember what I said earlier about repeated kicks to the crotch? This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That said, after months of thinking about this and more kicks to the crotch than I care to mention, I think I do have an idea of what might be going on here. And it all begins in probably the most confusing place of all. Midnight Motorist from FNAF 6. When I first spoke about this minigame, I said that the mustard man here was William Afton. But I can tell that a lot of you weren't too convinced in my conclusion. And I'll be honest, I wasn't 100% sure of it either, but it was the best I could do at the time. But
it makes the
now
most sense.
I am 100% confident that that is who we're seeing here. You see,
because it only makes
6
sense.
is simultaneously the end of the story as well as the beginning. It's the end because, well, everyone burns to death. And it's the beginning because it's the origin story of the puppet. And as we know, everything begins with the puppet. She's the one that allows all the other animatronics to become possessed, as we see in FNAF 2, which makes the security puppet minigame pretty much the earliest event we ever see in any of these games. And we also know that it's William who killed Charlotte in that back alley. This is the origin story of the purple guy, complete with his purple car that we saw in FNAF 2 after all. But here's the detail I was missing before. If you brighten up the final screen of the security puppet minigame, you'll see tire tracks left by the purple car driving away from his crime. This leads directly to the events of Midnight Motorist, which happens immediately after his murder. Here's how we know this for sure. Not only are you driving a purple car, and not only is it raining in both of the minigames, so they're connected on both those fronts, but get this. Reddit user GB Aura found that this section of the game in the source files is titled Later That Night, giving us the time connection we needed to know 100% that Orange Guy is William Afton. He kills Charlotte in the rain outside of Fredbear's, drives away, and winds up back home later that night. Boom! Proven, locked and loaded. And looking at this minigame, knowing what we know now about Michael being the crying child, we know that the couch potato here is his older brother. Mr. Foxy Mask, let me shove my brother into an animatronic mouth and get him killed, speaking in his signature gray text, who apparently no longer has a name, which leaves Michael as the one who escaped to that place again. That is who William is mad at, with that place being obviously none other than Freddy's. And from there, a lot of pieces start to fit together. William's frustration with Michael escaping explains why we see him have surveillance camera.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I guess that makes sense. But what happens when he says he need to put back together? That's what's I'm not understanding. What did he do to put him back together? Because didn't he look pretty normal in those cutscenes at Central Location? So like, what entirely happened? That's what I'm lost here. I don't know.
All over his house and sister location. It's not an experiment or anything. He is literally keeping tabs on the boy who keeps running away. It also explains why we see Michael, the crying child, locked in his room throughout FNAF 4. William himself says at the end of Midnight Motorist that Michael will be sorry when he gets back. And he is, as William constantly locks him in his room, making him unable to escape.
And we thought it was the brother.
All of this might even explain the rationale for the nightmare animatronics. William built them or else used his mind-altering sound disc that first appeared in the book and that we talked about in a previous theory to scare Michael so that he would stop wanting to go to the restaurant in the first place. That's why he's so scared of the place when we see him in FNAF 4.
Shit. I guess that makes sense. Yeah,
I'm literally in the recording closet right now recording this, and suddenly things started to fit together in a weird way. I'm just gonna throw this in here right as it happened in my mind. I'll need to look into this later, probably a future theory, but let's just bring it up now. Orange guy is William, right?
Right.
He's turned away at the front door of Junior's, which is completely random, and everyone's like, why is this in the minigame? Well, could it be because of the investigation into the missing children's incident? Remember what Phone Guy said from FNAF 2?
From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees.
Afton is rejected at the front door of the building because of the lockdown, and because he's a previous employee. It makes the timeline a bit messy, and I'll have to go back and rework it, but something about this feels right. William Afton was fired from his job, goes back to Junior's, but the building is under investigation because of the missing children's incident. William, being a former employee, is turned away at the door. He's not allowed in. It's not a bar, it's nothing like that. It's Freddy Fazbear's Jr. or something, the second location, the FNAF 2 location. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there because it just occurred to me as I was writing this thing. I haven't had time to fully flesh it out or work it into the script, but I thought it was important enough to include, break the flow of things. Regardless, it gives us something else to chew on. Now back to the actual episode as I wrote it.
No,
okay,
I guess that does kind of make sense. That I mean, that's not like a horrible theory. That kind of makes sense. I feel like that could really fit in as a okay. That like even without it being fleshed out and whatnot, I think that could definitely fit in with everything that's going on right now.
To avoid the obvious question here, Michael's death and apparent rebirth. If I'm being honest,
I don't understand.
Because I don't really have a fully fleshed out explanation for it. It's less of a
It's just how he got from there to sister location is what confuses me, right? That's with the cutscenes in sister location, it throws off everything. So I don't understand.
Hypothesis, really. So
and then with being put back together and everything, I don't get it.
As to Freddy Fazbear with me as I go through what I think might be happening here. We know that Michael Afton is special, right? I mean, we see him get scooped, become a pile of rotten flesh, and yet he is still able to survive. In short, when we see him in sister location, he's not altogether human. Now, hold on to that idea for a second for me. While we're on the topic of sister location, let's look at the immortal.
So did they rebuild him in a certain way where it's like he's still human on the inside? Is that what he did? That's the best thing I got.
Restless, the super random soap opera from the game with a name that, now that I say it aloud in context, actually starts to make a little bit more sense. It stars Vlad, an immortal vampire who's dressed in purple who starts every episode saying,
Clara, I tell you, the baby isn't mine.
And in FNAF, we have William Afton, a man who's apparently immortal enough to survive a spring lock failure, who, like a vampire, sucks the remnant out of children and who knows, maybe survives on it, and is represented by the color purple. It's actually a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to ask. How does he survive? Like, what does he eat? What does he drink? Wait, how does he even survive in that shit?
Of similarities. So could the repeated lines of
Not my baby. The baby isn't mine. The baby isn't mine
actually relate to William's relationship with Michael? What if Michael isn't actually William's son? It seems like it would be a logical leap, but we know for a fact that Michael's real name isn't Michael. Remember what the logbook said. Do you remember your name? Well, of course he does, logbook. He wrote it on the front cover, Mike, unless, of course, that's not his real name. So you got all those details? Good, because here's where all this random observation comes together.
Yeah, that's not a horrible, that makes sense with how he was watching the shows in between, stuff like that, and they were very heavy on the baby isn't mine. I guess that would make a lot of sense if, that would add a lot of things, and it's not such just like a breathe a breath of fresh air in between mini games. It's like trying to show like a certain story, undercoding story. So I don't know.
In the novels, one of the big overarching storylines is
that his name being crossed. Yeah, that's making sense.
Charlotte had a twin who was kidnapped by Springtrap when she was younger. At the end of the second book, it's revealed that the twin wasn't actually kidnapped. It was her, which seems to imply that Charlotte and her twin were one and the same, or were somehow interchangeable. Then, in the final pages, Charlotte died dies from a spring lock failure, only to miraculously come back to life unscathed in the next few days as if nothing had ever happened. There are also a lot of clues sprinkled throughout the book that William Afton has the ability to create hyper-realistic humanoid robots. I even mentioned that briefly during a past FNAF theory.
So is that how he was able to make it through?
The main character of the book series is probably a robot, but again, those are all theories for other days.
So is that how Michael does? He's like a robot or whatever? I guess that makes sense. What the fuck? I guess that makes sense because, you know, he was able to spit it out and how he was able to have the robots inside of him. He was just fine. And then how he even survived that other thing and died and put it back together. And they had to put like parts in him and shit. And then, you know, how he... What the fuck? How did he end up in FNAF 6? That's the one thing I want to know. Like, how did he end up there?
Long story short, everything seems to point to Charlotte in the book.
But it makes sense it would be him because with everything being said of like about him saying you might not recognize me, but it's still me and stuff like that. So I guess it's the only thing that makes sense.
AI. Maybe at one point she was a person, but she died or was kidnapped at an early age, and ever since her personality has been programmed into a computer where she's now able to be replicated over and over again into a super advanced robot that's somehow now able to grow and develop. I didn't write the books, okay? Now obviously the two are vastly different canons, but the games and books do relate in a lot of ways, and we know in the games from William's daughter Elizabeth that full-on personalities of individuals can get programmed into AI. Elizabeth goes on to possess the spirit of baby. So what if Michael is just one of those? Sure, he was killed in the bite of 83, but when William promised to put him back together, it meant literally put him back together. Find a way to piece him back together using some combination of robotics expertise and miracle soul juice remnant. That's how Michael dies in FNAF 4, but somehow comes back to life in later games. It's how he's able to get scooped, get a bunch of robot spaghetti shoved into him, and then still survive when the robot spaghetti gets puked out of him. It's why he would no longer be able to remember his original name. And after he realizes the truth about what he actually is, that he's no longer human, he decides to end it all in the inferno of
that's why when he said like the whole thing about I gave you escape and you're probably not gonna need it, you're probably not gonna want it, and so that's probably why. And he's like, you know what, this will go down with me.
Having done his best to set the souls of his former friends free. Whew, boy, that is a lot. And between all these reveals and last week's code, there is a ton for us theorists to start chewing on. But now you get an idea of why I've been beating myself up for months trying to put this whole thing together. It upends mostly everything that we thought we knew about the franchise. Sure, it answers some of our questions like Midnight Motorist and a bit more about FNAF 4, but it opens the door to a lot of new avenues to explore.
Yeah. The next video is called We Are Right All Along, but I have to wait till I do custom night to watch that. So it's interesting. I wonder if everything was right, like we were Michael Afton, because that's the only thing that, I guess that's the only part that makes sense. That's why it makes sense the brother, but I wonder how the brother has a more part into it. I don't know, because I don't know if it's just the brother was just kind of just pushed off to the side, or if he has some significant part later on, but I have no clue of what part he was right, and maybe he was brought back in like a robot kind of thing. But yeah, when he first said that as a crying child, I was like, ooh, I hope not, but I could see how it could all add up to that, and especially maybe being put together makes sense why the exoskeleton was able to be in him in the scooping room and stuff like that, and how that was even possible, and then, you know, why he did what he did later on. So that's the only way it seems to make really any sense, and why he saw what he saw in FNAF 4, and then why the cameras are there. But there's just so much to put together. We've seen so many of these videos so far, it's hard for me to remember what happened before, of like certain stories and stuff like that. It's hard for me to put them together because it's hard for me to remember what we saw then, what we saw now, because, well, how many videos are we in? We're in a good amount of videos now, so it's hard to remember what's accurate and what's not. So it looks like we have another like 3 or 4 videos after this. Wow, he was a robot the whole time, and I guess that adds everything to why Henry said what he said, because that's what made me confused of how it would be Michael Afton with, you know, being stuck into that robot or whatever. But I guess if he saw an eye but he came back to life, I guess that makes no sense. I didn't know he came back to life. Oh, it has to be Michael in FNAF 6 then. He's got to be the security guard in FNAF 3. That's what it has to be, with him, you know, probably burning down the place, and then with that failed attempt, maybe it goes to the next one. Maybe that Henry had some whiff of it or something like that, and then somehow, I don't know. I don't know how much Michael knew and how much he didn't know. I really don't know. So, and Henry obviously knew who he was, but if you guys love the video, like, comment, subscribe. Game Theory channel's in the link in the description. Shit, I've done this for like 2 hours. Alright, peace.